Good evening, everybody.
So-
Presentation with us. Good evening, everybody. Hi, my name is Sylvia Starlack. I'm a patient planning manager for the city of Palo Alto. Thank you for your patience with us tonight as we got the Zoom going. We had a computer crash several times, but we are good now. I am happy to welcome everybody to this joint meeting of the City School Transportation Safety Committee and the Palo Alto Pedestrian and Bicycle Advisory Committee. And thanks to all the members of the public who came out. And I am about to turn this over to Nick Sada, our lead from our facilitator, Nick from Caltran.
Well, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yeah, when you hold it close.
Hold it, please, yes.
And then, let's see. Just feel free to remind me, actually. Well, thank you so much for having us here. It's a great facility and we appreciate the opportunity. So when I drove to the parking lot, it got my attention. The statement says, share your story on the windows of the library. And here, Caltran is here tonight to share our Camino Real project, and specifically the bike was project. Before I start, I would like to just welcome and introduce Caltran's amazing team. They committed actually some of us here in person, and the rest that are mainly virtual, but they can participate. I have with me Yumi Cho. She is the project manager, and also I have Rick Young. I don't know if you can be able to share the pictures, but it's Rick. And I have Jasmine Stein, also Lester Lee, and finally our safety officer, Arm. Hopefully I didn't forget anybody from Caltran, but so we are. And also before I start, I want to share and our appreciation to the city staff, actually, City of Palo Alto. Has been an amazing partner throughout the whole process. So I want to maybe just recognize Sylvia from the city. I don't think they know you, I guess, by now, and also Melissa. She's in the back. Thank you so much. So we go to the next slide, just quick. Okay, so the focus tonight will be focusing on a few items. Okay. So we'll be focusing actually presenting to you the proposed bike lane, what she's figuring out more on the slide. Again, the purpose is to tell the story tonight, tell you the story. What is the rationale behind the proposed bike lane at this time? While we are moving forward with the rehab project along the Camino along city of Mountain View, Los Altos, and Palo Alto. We'll cover that one, and hopefully we could hear from you. Any concern, any question you might have would be hopefully with Caltran staff here on board will hopefully be answering you, or not. We promise to take your question and we'll get back to you so we get all the information back. So we'll be actually just very quick on the program. What we covering tonight. Yes, I need to use my sheet. So we'll be reporting actually on the actual construction of the El Camino, what's going on in the project, and we'll give you an overview where are we in construction, what the cost and the schedule. And also we'll provide a very high level view of the planning and the complete street concept and the mobility along El Camino. Also, we will discuss the rationale and some of the safety issues that along the Camino related to the bike, and some kind of also high level guidance on safety and what mitigation measures we take. We'll also go over the design consideration, what did went through the thought process when we designed the bike lane. So we'll hopefully elaborate and give you a little bit. With that, I'd like to introduce Yumi to go over the project, sort of an overview before we go into the project.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Yumi Choi, Caltrans project manager. So tonight, I'm going to provide you the overview of Caltrans paving project in State Route 82 El Camino. The project limit is between the city of Mountain View and the city of Palo Alto. The construction cost is approximately $30 million. The main project scope is the following: the pavement rehabilitation for asphalt concrete pavement and concrete pavement, upgrade curb ramp, driveways, and sidewalks to meet ADA standard. And we're gonna apply high visibility crosswalk pavement marking, as well as upgrading track striping pavement marking. Electrical work will include APS for crosswalk, pedestrian hybrid beacon systems in the city of Mountain View, and upgrade signal poles at several intersections. Also, we are adding new bikeways in the city of Mountain View and the city of Los Altos. We are proposing new bikeways in the city of Palo Alto under this project. So the new bikeway facilities will be implemented right at the new pavement. That's why we are here to provide you the new bikeway information. For schedule, the construction has already begun, and we anticipate to be completed in the fall of next year. So the next topic will be presented by Jasmine Smith, Caltrans Bike and Plan Planner. She joined with us online. And Jasmine.
Oh, hi, everybody. Thank you. Thanks. I think I'm finally unmuted. Next slide, Ubi. Okay, cool. Thank you. So I'm going to go over some quick Caltrans policy context just to provide a framework for Caltrans policy. So Caltrans has a number of planning documents that provide a roadmap to inform how we scope projects. These goals come from a number of Caltrans planning documents that include our strategic plan, Caltrans' own climate action plan, and others. And they really focus on these 4 core goals: safety, equity, climate action, and prosperity. Next slide. So Caltrans has a complete streets policy, and it states that it is Caltrans' organizational priority to encourage and maximize walking, biking, transit, and passenger rail. So we really use these maintenance and road rehab projects to provide better bike and walking and facilities. Next slide. The need for bikeways on El Camino have been documented in numerous county, regional, and city planning efforts. Installing bikeways on El Camino would align with these goals and policies and align with prior planning documents. El Camino often rises to the top in terms of potential need and also the potential benefit for providing bike facilities to really address the mobility needs on a regional scale. Caltrans' own bike plan identifies El Camino as a need for bikeways and to really provide cross-county mobility, not just within Palo Alto, but throughout the county and throughout San Mateo County as well. Next slide. So, there's the other one. Okay, but multiple bikeways are anticipated to be installed in El Camino as part of Caltrans' pavement maintenance projects throughout the counties. And El Camino provides the most direct connection from San Jose to San Francisco. Implementing a separated bike facility would provide the best and least circuitous route to jobs and activity centers for people biking and to provide regional connectivity. Providing comfortable bikeways on El Camino would link to existing bikeway network and improve safety, and including for those who already bike ride on El Camino. This figure to the right kind of shows speeds and as speeds and volumes increase, the preferred bikeway type is one that provides more separation. And according to Caltrans's bikeway selection guide, the proposed bikeways provide some of this protection and within the limitations of a pavement maintenance project. And I'll give it back to next slide, I guess. Oh, this is where this slide is. Sorry. So yeah, this one shows our project in context of other projects that Caltrans is doing throughout El Camino. You can see that Palo Altos would directly connect with Mountain View and Los Altos to the south. Santa Clara County, the city of Santa Clara further south is also anticipating to have bikeways installed in a maintenance project. And further up north, Daly City, Colma, San Francisco, or South San Francisco, and Redwood City and Atherton. So this is really the start of a project to provide really regional connectivity. And it's a good interim first step to providing this envisioned bikeway network for the region. You can go next slide. And I'll pass it on to, is Rick doing the next, presenting next, I think, on Caltrans's team?
Thanks, Samantha. Great job. Thanks. And I think we go next to Rick.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Rick Young. So for my portion of the presentation, I'll be focusing on safety. Specifically, I'll be talking about crashes on El Camino Real that involve bicyclists and what we can do to prevent them from happening in the future. Next slide. So here's an overview of the topics I'll be going over. I will start with Caltrans safety first mindset approach to safety. Then I'll move into our bicyclist safety improvement monitoring program. Follow that with a review of crash history. And I'll end by talking about the safety enhancement recommendation that we have for the pavement rehab project. Next slide. So before I go into all the detail, I'd just like to take a minute to talk about our general approach to safety. At Caltrans, we have a safety first mindset. What that means is our priority is for the safety of all our road users. Our vision is consistent with Vision Zero. We want to eliminate all fatality and serious injury on our highway. And the way we go about doing that is through the safe system approach, where we focus on preventing crashes from happening in the first place. And if they do occur, we want to minimize the harm done to the people involved. Next slide. So one of the tools that we use to improve safety is our bicyclist safety improvement monitoring program. This program looks into a crash history spanning 5 years, in this case, 2016 to 2020. And we look for locations where we have high concentration of bike involved crashes. And we investigate, we do our review, and then we implement appropriate safety enhancement measures. Next slide. So let me show you what the monitoring program found in the area around Palo Alto and Mountain View. The program identified 5 highway segments with high concentration of crashes involving bikes. So as you can see, the locations, they're shown on this map here. Location number 1 is in Mountain View, and the other 4 locations, location 2 through 5, are located in Palo Alto. Next slide, please. So let me get into description of the crashes and some of the statistics. So 2016 to 2020, across all 5 of these highway segments, we had 33 crashes involving bicyclists. 32 of them resulted in injury, and 1 of them, unfortunately, was a fatality. Because I want to point out 2 things about these numbers. Number one, the fact that we have 33 crashes tells us more than it tells us more than the fact that we have potential conflict. It tells us that bicyclists are present out on El Camino Real. Some of them have experienced incidents, and so we really need to do everything we can to try to improve safety for these vulnerable users. The other thing I want to kind of point out is if you go back to a couple of slides ago, I was talking about safety priority, our vision. And if you look at these crashes, these are injury crashes, fatality crashes. These are the exact crashes we want to focus upon and try to eliminate them from our highway. Next slide, please. So when we break down the crashes by type, overwhelmingly, almost 80% of them were broadside. And this is significant. In a broadside type of crash, the likelihood of injury to the bicyclist is significantly higher. Next slide, please. We've also broken down the crashes by primary collision factors. Other violations was the leading factor at 52%. Failure to yield came in second at 30%. Next slide, please. So in addition to looking at the crashes by type or by primary collision factor, we also group them into crash patterns so we can take a closer look at any underlying issue and to identify potential mitigation measures. So we've identified 3 patterns. First one is driver's failure to yield. Second one is bites going against the flow of traffic. And the last one is red light violation. Next slide. First crash pattern we found was driver's failure to yield. Some of the issues related to this pattern could be driver distraction. There may be issue with visibility, or sometimes the right-of-way assignment is simply not clear to the road users. Some of the things we can do to mitigate this include upgrading, improving traffic signs and markings. We can ensure to have clear line of sight, especially at intersections or driveways. We can focus more effort with driver education. We can also look to provide bike boxes at certain intersections so we can improve bicyclist visibility. Next slide, please. Our second crash pattern is bites going against the flow of traffic. And this includes both bicyclists riding on the street and on sidewalk. Issues related to this, it could be simply a lack of designated area for people to ride bikes on the road. It could also be related to a high stress riding environment on a busy roadway like El Camino Real. Potential mitigation measures include providing standard bicycle facility where we can designate a portion of the roadway for the exclusive use by bicyclists. We can also install appropriate signs and markings to clearly indicate the direction of bike travel. Next slide. Our last crash pattern is related to red light violation. Issues related to this one could be speeding. It could be related to road users not being able to see traffic signal. Sometimes there could also be issue related to our signal timing. Potential mitigation include traffic enforcement, driver education, working with our signal ops and our maintenance department to make sure that our signals are clearly visible to all the road users, and maybe check on our signal timing to verify that the appropriate timings have been provided. Next slide, please. So based on our safety review, we can tell that there are bicycle riders out on El Camino Real. There have been some incidents, and we definitely see a need to improve safety. So our recommendation is to implement bikeway as part of the paving project on El Camino Real. There are a number of benefits of having bikeway on El Camino Real. I just want to point out a couple of them. Number one, it provides network connectivity that Jasmine had mentioned in her portion of the presentation. It will reduce the incidence of bicyclists riding against the flow of traffic. It will reduce the potential for conflict between bikes and vehicles. And most importantly, it will improve traffic safety on El Camino Real. I believe that is my last slide. I think, let me turn this back over to Nick and Yumi.
Thank you so much, Rick. Actually, the guy is supposed to present the next metric and design consideration as a conflict, so I intend to cover. But I do apologize up front that I will elaborate a lot more before selling. That's fair with me. Next slide, please. Okay, so we'll try to capture some of that, what went through the design, some of the consideration and constraint, and those constraints are, right of way and on-street parking, intersection and driveways, and finally transit stops. We're gonna cover each one of them with more details. Next slide, please. As you guys know, El Camino Real is a very limited state right of way. It goes from almost, I would say, typical in the corridor between the face of the sidewalk to the other face of the sidewalk, even though some cities are different. And I think when I talk about the project, I meant to cover, it's not only in Palo Alto, this is actually across the 3 towns. So we didn't have a straight line for right of way. We have it gives like the width of the highway, it goes between 130 feet in the most best case scenario that it's contrast on all the way to the back of the sidewalk on the side. But the other scenario goes a little shorter when we own when the department owns only the face of the sidewalk. In the case of actually Las Altas, it has only ownership of the sidewalk on the sidewalk. So with a limited right of way, that also is going to limit and constrain your freedom to provide the full complete facility as you wish and we all wish. Unfortunately, so the current Camino, it has 3 through lane each direction, which is total of 6 both sides, and also in some scenarios include left turn 1 or 2 lanes each direction, and other scenarios has right lanes. So actually, the width of the facility changes. With that, it does limit your freedom to do ultimate design and just give it 100 yards on the place to do. So this is the limit, because that also adds another constraint, which is limit our geometric and some kind of contrast safety design standard. Next slide. Also this one throughout the corridor between Mountain View, Las Altas, and City of Palo Alto, there is a street parking along the whole corridor. In the case of the city of Mountain View and Las Altas, because they have an early start or head start, they went to the city council for resolution to remove the parking, street parking, in order to accommodate for the bike lane, and that's it, just to create more space or right of way to implement the bikeway. And in the case of Palo Alto, we anticipate there is it's going to be impacted around 605 cars or vehicles along the city of Palo Alto. And again, this is, it doesn't, it adjusts, it's a constraint that instead of, providing, protected bike lane or, class 4, that's gonna go, limit your options to, or minimize your option to, maybe you're gonna have bike lane with class 2 or. Next slide. I think this goes without saying, actually, in typical corridor like in Camino, it has a lot of right ways and intersection, and it's very hard to manage because it's also limit your freedom for continuous bike lanes and continuous class 4 protection bikes. So it limits your freedom to implement a certain type and create a lot of challenge. So this is some of the constraints we have, and also in addition to in some scenarios when you have a right turn lane, that also limits your options for separate bike facility. Next. In Camino, it's a major, it's a regional corridor. It has multiple transit agencies going through. It has a lot of facilities, has a lot of bus stops. The frequency of those bus stops also limits the option of continuous bike lane or protected bike lane, and you have to work around it. And in addition to the conflict zone throughout the corridor. Next. This is actually, it's a typical sort of a section of Palo Alto, how the whole facility is going to look like at the end when we finish the paving and we do all the upgrades. And this is the proposed bike lane, how it's going to look like at the end. So you could see, I think it's, we're trying to maintain the operation and the safety of the corridor as one goal of practice. Next. Again, this is a typical section. It's not necessarily fit for Palo Alto, but through the corridor, it does have, as I mentioned, three through lanes each direction, in addition to the street parking. And with the implementation of the proposed bike lane, and in this case, with the protected or class 4, that's the way it's going to look. We're going to maintain the through lanes and all the movement in the corridor and divide a class 4 at the next to the sidewalk. And this is actually typical through the whole corridor. This is another example actually of Palo Alto before. Actually today, how it looks like today or tonight. I believe this is around California Avenue, and that's the way it looks like today. And hopefully after we finish construction and complete paving and all the upgrades, it's going to look like this. The next slide. So that's a typical sort of section or picture or imagination how this is going to look like up there. I think it's just next one. Okay. We try to look for other alternatives, and at least for a high level, we consider a few things. Keep in mind those projects actually it started with sort of paving project. It's a maintenance project to preserve the pavement and keep everything smooth, and it does need badly facelift actually the pavement. And that was the focus actually on the whole thing. But as Samantha said, you mentioned, it is part of our goals and mission to improve safety and implement complete street at the right time. I will try to do things once. We don't want to do it twice and waste a lot of resources, funding, and in public inconvenience. So we consider all options to keep everything as we can. So we, in order to keep the street parking, we thought about ideas, and I don't know what exactly. So throughout the corridor, it's very hard to implement class 4 protected or any actually bike facility with the existing of the bike or of the street parking as presented today. Other consideration we considered, and actually we did implement some of the lane reduction within the allowance that we accommodate big loads and transit throughout the corridor. We have reduced some of the areas, the lane width from 12 feet to 11, and I think we're gonna further look into other options if we can go beyond this in compliance with our DIB 94 and other safety and geometric compliance. We will evaluate and look into that. If this can give us any free up more real estate throughout the corridor, so we'll consider that. Other option or question was asked is if we can, I don't call it road lineage or lane reduction actually. So we eliminate some of the lanes throughout the corridor. Unfortunately, the answer to that question is the project scope is to do pavement. In order to evaluate this option, it does require a lot of evaluation, environmental analysis, traffic analysis, it does transit impacts, it does have to evaluate delays, fueling, and actually does require evaluation in the neighborhood impact if people are going to start, coming through traffic to get to their destination. Therefore, but in this case, we always reach out to the local cities and the region, and we will be happy to commit to sit down on the table with the region to evaluate any options. So far, actually, this is our round 2. Well, I didn't say round 2 because we've been actually talking to the city for more than, at least I would say, for particular this issue of more than a few months. So I say 7, 8 months since the safety report came up. And so we were here last week actually in the Palo High School, and we hopefully we presented the same PowerPoint presentation trying to explain the nation of the project, and we're here tonight. And we are coming also next week and the following week to present to the city council and hopefully to answer questions. With this, that concludes Caltrans presentation, and be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Great, thanks so much, Nick. We have online a hand up already by Audrey Gold, who's a volunteer parent, transportation safety rep from Gunn High School. Audrey, can you ask your question?
Yes, thank you. I'm a longtime volunteer with Safe Routes to School program. I'm the parent of 3 kids that bike. And one of the first slides showed the accident report. I wondered if that report broke it down by how many were adults and how many were minors. And then my second part of the question, which is still I'm very not clear on, is when a bus stops, what is the cyclist supposed to do? Are they supposed to stop and wait for the bus to get going again? So that slide was very confusing to me. Thank you.
Okay, should we answer the question now, or is that okay? Okay, I think Rick is good to you, and Jasmine, if you can, I think you're the expert in this. Did you hear the question, guys?
Yeah, maybe let me take the first one. So the crashes that I was showing, I did not break them down by age group. Yeah, there were some. There were some minor, there were some older. There also is a mixture of different age group in those 33 crashes.
As to the bus situation, it's actually going to be really similar to what's currently on Quarry Road in Palo Alto currently, in which there's on a bike lane. The separation goes away when there's a bus stop. And when a bus comes, they pull in, whoever is in the first has the right of way, and the other person yields. So if a cyclist is in it, the bus waits until the cyclist proceeds and then moves into the bus stop. And if the bus is there first, then the cyclist waits for the bus to unload and load passengers. and it either waits behind it or it could yield to see if there's a gap in car traffic and then go around. But it's one of those two.
Thank you.
Great. I also see online, before we move to people in the room, some staff, assistant principals from, but I don't see them raising their hands. I just want them to know that if they would like to ask a question, now is a really good time. I pay you and I can call on you. They're not raising their hand, but know that I see you, and if you want to raise your hand, you can. We're happy to see our CAUSD administrators online. Okay, so Nick, you can.
There's a hand actually.
That's Audrey. Did you have another question?
No, she's good.
Oh, okay.
She's okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
You know, I'll your hand is still up. That's okay, low.
Yeah, I can't unmute myself. I need the moderator to do it. So as a follow-up question, I do believe the one fatality that is referenced was a minor, the crash at California Avenue, that was a minor. So I just wondered whether it's possible to go back and look at that data with that question as mine, because I definitely have a concern about children using these bike lanes on El Camino. So I really want to have an open mind about this, but just having observed the behavior of teenagers, and more than half the kids, about half the kids at Gunn High School bike to school on a regular basis. So this is 500 to 600 bikes are on campus on any given day. So it's a lot of kids. And, they don't always make the best choices. So I appreciate that the design is trying to take that into account. But I do, yeah. Is it possible to break that data?
I'm not sure that's, it's the way the CHP and the local police, they capture the information and they count an accident. The number, it's an accident. I don't know if it's a minor. We'll check with our guys. I don't know if this makes any really different in the type of the crash or something. But we'll get back to you with that one. Thanks.
Oh, just as a quick follow-up, you're correct. The fatality was a minor. He was a middle school student named Paul Lafard.
Okay. Thank you so much.
We have another.
I'm not gonna monitor. I think you guys tell me what I'll answer. It's so I want to give you this one.
Taking comments now or pushback? Yeah. That wasn't clear. Sorry. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I forgot. Yes, the committee members, do you have questions? Sorry.
I have several questions. First of all, you mentioned safety first mindset and priority safety for all. So you didn't consider lowering the speed limit, which would create greater safety. You didn't consider over and underpasses, which would improve safety. So if it was really your priority, then you would do those things. But obviously you have other priorities, make sure cars can travel quickly, and your limitations in your budget. So I think you should be upfront about that. And safety comes after speed on, make sure cars can go fast enough. You're happy. The question about the broadsides, which are 80%. So is those cross traffic crossing El Camino, or are they cars, say, making the right turn in front of a cyclist, and the cyclist hitting the car or vice versa?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for your questions. I would just, I would defer the second question to Rick. But regarding the speed, no, safety is actually, it's for all travelers, not one particular thing. Our safety is priority for all. So, and we try, as I said, we try to fit and safe practice for every mode of transportation within the corridor. So And regarding your the speed reduction, we will actually think about, we will do a survey study because this is related to the enforcement of the speed. And a lot of times, and to be frank about it, just like there is a process how to do a speed survey, and most of the time you might be, I don't want to say it might end up that it's not what you wish for because they monitor 80 or 75% of the actual speed of the corridor. But I want to defer some of the answers, the questions to Rick or Ang, if you don't mind.
Yeah. Let me say something about the broadside. So it actually involved both of the ones that you described. Right turning traffic, conflict with bikes, or kind of your traditional right angle type of crashes. So both of them are included in the broadside category.
I'd just like to add that on the lowering the speed limit, AB 43 doesn't provide Caltrans to lower the more flexibility like our local agencies. We are still bound by the 85 percentile. Setting the speed limit relates to the 85 percentile. However, for El Camino Real, we do have a plan to work with CHP and our local law enforcement partners to look at ways to manage the speed, setting the lower speed limit if we could. So yes, we do have a plan to work on.
Okay, good. I'm going in this direction. You ready, Art?
There were two young people who were killed riding bicycles in El Camino, one in Mountain here, the young man out. Both of those were done, what happened at intersections. I understand that Caltrans has control of the traffic signals on El Camino. So if in this cases, have there been a prohibition about a right turn by a truck or a right turn on red? Those two young people would be alive. Is there a possibility or any consideration about making a prohibition of turning right on red at intersections in El Camino?
I will tell it to Ang or Ricky. I think there is a possibility, and that's what we're working with. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that is one strategy that we are seriously looking at. Intersections, arterial intersections for the state facility. Yes. So that is something that we're going to look at. However, it requires conducting traffic analysis and make sure that we don't miss any potential impacts for that restriction. But that is something that we're going to be looking into as well.
Just I want to add to we could actually, if you give us or whatever, provide the names of the intersections that you're referring to, and will be evaluated. I don't want to say it's going, but we will evaluate, and if it's feasible, definitely will be.
This battery is dead, so
You want to?
yeah, that way it'll get.
Throw my pizza in.
Yeah.
You can,
I'll shop. So I didn't
I had a question about the vertical posts that are, that are in the plan. And the problem with them is that if you're making a left turn, you have to, and you want to do it safely, you have to leave a considerable amount of time, about 10 seconds or so, because you have to look over your shoulder, make sure that cars are not overtaking, they slow to your speed. And at 15 miles an hour, that's 22 feet per second. It takes 220 feet to change one lane, and you're going across three of them. So you need a fair bit of lead time to do that. If there's there's posts, and it can interfere with your ability to turn left, to get into a left turn pocket. The other problem with them is that for drivers, if they're following the traffic laws, they're supposed to merge into a bike lane before turning across it to reduce the chance of a bicyclist being cut off. You want to do that when you're going fairly fast, so that a bicyclist isn't going to overtake you in your blind spot and then slow down. So you really need the full 200 feet, to be able to do that, and make sure that you won't hit a cyclist by it, because you can't see him. And I'm wondering if, I can't tell from the diagrams, but it looks to be like you might not have enough room for that, especially when you consider all the driveways along El Camino. So could you just please comment about that, or there's something I'm missing?
If you stand near this
Oh, that thing?
then it'll
Oh.
catch your
Well, it
voice.
happens, which intersection,
It's just pervasive. If you go all along
Okay.
El Camino, there's left turn pockets all along the thing, and there's driveways. There's frequent driveways along the street. There's a couple of places where there aren't, but they're relatively rare.
okay. Jasmine, do you have a clear idea? Otherwise, we could get back to you on that one. I don't want to, we just make sure we understand the situation.
Yeah,
Jasmine?
we could get back to you on it, but we do drop the posts quite a bit before the intersection. So most intersections have, I don't know exactly how many, but it's around 100 or so feet. It might be more than that. So at the intersections, the protection does drop. Yeah,
Full 200 feet, or is it less? Sort of
yeah, I'd have to look at.
move into a bike lane 200 feet before a turn, so you get that does the design give you that full 200 feet?
Yeah, we'd have to get back to you about which one.
Let's look into that one, and I think that we'll show the plans, and we'll come any feedback. We'll come any.
You can handle it.
This is the easiest part of that, modify this is a draft plans. I want to, and that's why we're here. We welcome any comments, any tweak to the design. That's why, I think we're not looking for, the enemies of good is excellent, right? And with the limitation, with the constraint we have, I hope we could accommodate.
It's the best part of the question. We're treating the commercial, high volume commercial driveways like intersections. Because functionally, they are like intersections.
We'll take it, and we'll see the spacing and where we can give that buffer. I think that's and whatever it's. But you don't want to do also like, you want a couple of sticks up there and has no value either. So we'll make sure we balance. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So one of the speakers tonight said that the collision history indicates that there are bicycles present on El Camino, which makes sense to me. My question is, does Caltrans know how many motor vehicles travel along El Camino as opposed to across? And also, does Caltrans know how many bicyclists travel along versus across? Are those numbers part of your decision-making process?
We should know how many, well, I mean, every day changes, but we should have an average of how many vehicles travel through a Camino. But that could be changing from section to section, but the information we could obtain it. But I'm not sure about if we have a bike count and how many bicycles go through the Camino. I don't know, maybe Rick or Ang, any of those,
And if I can interject, the most important part of my question was, how do those numbers affect your planning? Because I think as some people have pointed out, there are a lot of bicycles that cross the Camino Real. Yet all of these drawings in my mind seem to be focused along people who are traveling the length of El Camino as opposed to across.
So as far as the bike count, we are in the process of getting the data, and the primary goal though is what, as Rick mentioned previously, all the safety enhancement that we discussed about is, safety improvement for the users currently using it. So part of the decision-making process is we intend to implement safety enhancement for the users. The volume of the bicyclists or the users doesn't play too much, as we need to have a safety enhancement for the users that we currently have on the on El Camino Real. But we are in the process of getting that data as well.
And I want to add one thing, maybe the number wouldn't have it now. I don't think that should make a big difference in our planning, because today the facility as is a shared road. So there is no signs or any legal implicit to not use El Camino. It's legally they could use share the lane. So the opportunity is there, the facility is there, there is no restriction. We could tell, don't use. That's why it just sometimes the number it does not really matter too much in the planning. Well, I fully understand. It is just the facility, it's open to everybody to buy it. I share the link today.
Well, I'm Nicole with PABAC Summer. So my question is about the design element with a shared lane on Camino, shared lane for the on Camino intersection approach of Page Mill and Northern Expressway, as well as the Charleston intersection. According to your plot shared on slide 8, a shared lane is not a suitable design for a bicycle facility with the speed limit and vehicular traffic that we see on El Camino today. Could you please elaborate on short-term and long-term plans for reducing conflicts in these areas of the shared lane and how that design can be improved over time?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for the question. Actually, we are looking into, as I said earlier, the new revised standard and see where we can create more real estate, more right away by reducing the lane width to 10.5. If it's, I'm not saying it's, but we are evaluating this option and see if this we can actually accommodate. It's just we believe, and I think it's not the expert and Jasmine could elaborate on that one. It is just to have any shares or any indication there is, get your attention. There's somebody has potentially used the lane that could, we believe there has value, but I will leave it to the expert. But we'll be evaluating actually that option at those areas where we can maximize the real estate to accommodate for the bike lane. Jasmine, anything you want to add? You mute.
Oh, thanks. So you're absolutely correct. It isn't inappropriate to have a shared lane at that point. The widths are really narrow, and we're looking into it, but it's a difficult.
And this, I want to add, thanks, Jasmine. I just want to add also to the question is, this is actually the opportunity to implement, I will call it phase one, whatever you want to call it, first step towards implementing the facility. But there is nothing to stop us from down the road to maybe if there is any improvement, any future phase 2, phase 3 to enhance, to add to it or widen something. I mean, there's nothing to stop us from from that point to enhance the facility. Thanks.
So yeah, I want to point out that Brian, that is.
Yeah, I see. We're gonna finish the table and then I'm gonna take a few in here and then we'll go to Matt.
All right, Dave, I want to briefly say that I'm excited to have bike lanes in El Camino, and I'll just speak for myself. I think this is great. Art brought up the question, can we restrict right turns for trucks? I'd also love to know if we can take other safety measures in El Camino. Can we have speed cameras that identify people breaking the speed limit, give them tickets? Can we have red light cameras that would, when people run red lights, would actually send them tickets? And can we get rid of right on red on some of the more dangerous intersections?
I think we did answer the first part of the question, but I think also as far as limit the right turn, and I think we could be evaluated again. We just need to make sure that we know what we're doing. But regarding the cameras, I know last time elaborated that one. Do you mind?
Sure. Currently by legislation, I think there are only few cities that are allowed to pilot the speed cameras. So that would be something that we got to work with our city partner if we want to implement something along the corridor. Currently, Caltrans don't have the authority to install speed cameras. So that is something that we have to work with all the partners, stakeholders going forward.
I want to add to An's, actually, I did notice where I live and the areas we live, it just maybe the local cities, they take the initiative to do this kind of install cameras and the state would be part of that, whatever. Because I have seen some, not speed cameras in the state right away within certain cities. So I think it has to be legislated and in particular to certain aspects. But we'll work with the city if they choose.
Okay, so Cal, you can't do it yourself.
I didn't believe that it does require legislation to do so. That was what I'm saying, and we could look into it.
All right, first of all, removing parking on El Camino is probably the single biggest thing you could do to make bicycling there more attractive. Makes more lane width available, and we don't have to worry about those parked cars. And in conjunction with some kind of bikeway, I would support that. However, your safety analysis is false. It doesn't distinguish crashes along to bicyclists traveling along El Camino from those crossing. We know, in fact, that the fatality was a bicyclist who was crossing El Camino. And Caltrans has not been able to make any data available to us for further analysis so we can determine exactly how these crashes occurred. So bikeways along El Camino will not address crashes crossing El Camino. In fact, we don't even have any idea how many bicyclists are using El Camino now because we don't seem to have any counts. The crash analysis indicated that 79% of the crashes are broadside and only 6% are side swipes, and any rear end crashes were just bumped under other, weren't broken out separately. So again, bikeways along El Camino, and in particular class 4 bikeways, would address rear end and side swipe crashes, but they don't do anything for the broadside crashes that are predominant. And in fact, they may create new potential for broadside crashes at driveways and minor intersections where cars are turning and don't have adequate room to merge before they make the turn. Because the driveways on El Camino are so frequent, it will be difficult to drop the class 4 barriers far enough in advance to allow this merger. And Caltrans Design Information Bulletin 89, which is the class 4 bikeway guidance, is very clear about the importance of resolving these intersection conflicts. In the questions that this committee submitted to Caltrans last May, whose answers we finally saw on Tuesday, I mentioned, as Bill also did tonight, that it would be desirable to drop the barriers 150 to 200 feet before the intersections and driveways to allow merging. And the response was, there's just no room to do that, and we only have class 2 bikeways. Well, my conclusion is you should only have class 2 bikeways. And it would not be difficult to put in buffered bikeways without delineators, see what the experience is in Mountain View and Los Altos, and then add the delineators at a later time. It would be much more difficult politically to do the opposite. It may be that your design for driveways is adequate. I can't tell from the plans that were submitted to us. They just don't show the driveways in enough detail to make that judgment. But I will repeat, as I said last week, that this is a critical design feature that needs to be looked at carefully and in detail and would influence my opinion.
Well, thank you. I will again, we'll take that comment and we'll evaluate and hopefully we could go and evaluate, we can reduce the length. So.
Nick, I'd like to highlight one thing though, is that, yes, we can see a very high percentage of broadside crashes. As you mentioned, some are at the driveway. By having the painted and class 4 bike lane through those driveways will significantly make the bicyclist more visible. Some of the crashes happen when the bicyclist is on the crosswalk and then vehicles trying to make a ride into the driveway or the parking lot. So having the, as Rick mentioned, having the right-of-way or dedicated facility for the bikes will address that conflict. At the intersection, yes, some intersection with the geometrics, but having making the driver aware that there is a bike lane through the corridor, that will kind of change the perception and awareness on the driver's part. So that's what we anticipating is as far as the benefits of the having a crosswalk bike lane through the corridor. Thank you.
Thanks.
I had a couple of comments. Thank you for reducing the lane width. This will help reduce speeding and
I could hear you.
and slow the traffic down. I looked at some studies on protected bikeways, and the largest study showed that an increase in that protected bikeways resulted in an increase in safety for both bicyclists and pedestrians. I think they indicated that slowing the traffic was the key there. However, existing paving approach has a number of issues that should be addressed in the future that makes things safe. These include sharrows with 2 right turn lanes is just not safe. Treatments to improve crossings for bikes and peds is important. Treatments to address the bus stops and removal of the high-speed turns. These are things that probably can't be done in the paving project, but should be done in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much for your presentation, and thank you for taking a look at the motor lane. I think that's going to be. There have been a lot of good questions about bike lanes along the Camino. I want to put a finer point on all the questions you're getting about crossing safety. So Palo Alto, you heard earlier, we have hundreds of kids who are crossing our Camino every day, not just to the high school, but also to Fletcher Middle School and to Wanna Green Heights Elementary School, and also Palo Alto High School. So there are kids moving both directions, both as, pardon me, and Escondido, thank you, and Escondido Elementary. Sorry. And so I think paint at these crosswalks is a prayer. It's not a plan for children. And we need some real safety here. We've heard some other speakers mention things like, we talked about checking the signal length, but I need to know that it's going to be adjusted so that it's sufficient for small people with short legs to get safely across the street in the amount of time allotted to them. And remember, we've got mommies with strollers and little children, and we have disabled people. We've just built the working court housing for developmentally disabled adults, and those folks are going to need better crossing times. And we have a lot of senior facilities along this area as well. Right, and in addition to that, I think we're going to need things like sensors for people who are traveling on the corridor who may want to make a left turn on El Camino Real. They're going to need sensors so that we don't have another crash where someone's waiting at an intersection to make a left and gets rear-ended. They need to be able to get on a sensor, trigger that light, and get out of the way. That's not for the kids, that's for the grown-ups. And then we're going to need bike lanes or sharrows continually through the intersections. What I don't see in these plans, and I know you said that this is a quick build project, paint only, but what I don't see are protected pedestrian medians. And I think that's going to be critically important. And I know other speakers are going to get to that, so I won't. We've already talked about the driveways to the city and you. I want you to work together on this. At Maybell and Los Robles, we have a connection from the East Meadows. It's one of only 2 crosstown connections that kids have at South Palo Alto. Along from East Meadow connects to El Camino Way, and then to Los Robles, crosses El Camino at Los Robles and Maybell. A very high volume of bicyclists going through this area. Not to mention some other crossings, and I've already sent you a list, so I'm not gonna go through the list. But this intersection is critically, these intersections are critically important, and all I see in the plan here is high visibility crosswalks. I don't see anything that speaks to those kids, and we're taking away 37 parking spaces on El Camino in this area. I don't know where those cars are going. But now this question is the city. If those cars move to El Camino Way, we already have a problem with cars parking in the bike lanes. I need to know, how is the city going to mitigate that problem with the school commuting kids? And where's the money going to come from? Right, so this is a place where we need to be working together. And then finally, this I think is an important question. It's not clear to me how this plan incorporates the up-to-date ES 94 standards, particularly the crossings that I'm talking about here. And I would like to hear you speak to that. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much. And I think that's it's a great question. I wanna, the first question, what do you think I should get closer to this? I don't want to block you up there. We heard this before, you know, the signal timing to accommodate for certain crossings. I do encourage this. Our traffic guys will always work very well with the city traffic. So I would love to coordinate this effort with the city traffic engineers so they know what we're talking about and which section and what the issue. And I think that could be done to at least visit and see what we can do. We could do it tomorrow, the time. And if you feel there is a reason why you could. I said it's worth looking at it. It's not gonna hurt. And if there is something, but keep in mind, there's a lot of also factors play with it. I don't wanna make our traffic operating guys hate me. You know, there's a lot of coordination through the whole corridor. I mean, there's a transit, there is another component to it. I said, when I get it's worth, if it's feasible, it's doable, we could do something.
Sure.
But I do recommend that start from city traffic engineers, so at least we know what we try to fix and what we try to. That was the first one. The second, do you want to add anything to this one?
Yeah, I just want to add an update that Caltrans, we implemented the leading pedestrian interval, basically giving pedestrian time to be on the crosswalk before the vehicle making left, making right can make the right turn. So we implemented the leading pedestrian interval timing along El Camino Real. And along with that effort, I'm pretty sure that our team evaluate and make sure that we have adequate time for pedestrian to cross the street. But like Nick mentioned, if there are any particular intersection that you think is not working well, we're very happy to go out and re-evaluate. Thank you, Nick.
And the second, I need another thing that you did ask me to speak to it. We would go back and evaluate and make sure, keep in mind, DIB 94 is a very young directive. It's like 5-6 months ago. So we will look into that, what we can upgrade, what we can do while we report that completion.
Did have a streets directed before that, and there was also an El Camino Real master plan, which I know the speaker is going to get to.
Okay, and let's get to it. Okay.
Yes, I was wanting to make sure the Caltrans had an institutional, perhaps our city staff had institutional amendment of the 1999, 2000, 2007. Thank you. El Camino Real Master Schematic Design Plan. And I'm going to be making this available to you out of the city's website. But what I didn't see when I was reading through all of the information that you had on maps, I saw a lot of them saying, well, we're not going to be changing the signals. We're not gonna be changing, anything that requires putting new signs or bike, safer bike signs. Sounded like that was not something that Caltrans was going to take on. Perhaps that has changed in the last, month or so.
I do, I believe you said, I do believe that we said that we're not gonna incorporate, I think this is. We have guidelines, we have standards, and I'm sure since 2007 to now, the whole thing is just.
So when someone's biking on, Camino, and they're coming to a complicated intersection, they will have guidance on how to handle that.
I don't want to mislead, I don't know what guidance, but Jasmine, do you know, I mean, can you follow? I don't know what guidance other than whatever the standard plans and whatever the details that we guide.
So there would be appropriate signage.
Yeah.
To reduce risk.
There are plans that include sharrows and green thermoplastic to help direct cyclists to where they go, and there's a point where the bike lane ends, and the cyclists are supposed to transition to the other side at the Stanford. So there's a bike box there to help direct them there as well.
I'm happy to hear that. Thank you.
In listening to the presentation tonight, the safety presentation, it was difficult for me because it doesn't correspond to any reality I know. I've got hundreds of thousands of miles on El Camino, biking, driving, walking, and is there any possibility that you're the staff doing this planning to get out there and bike it? And I think they'd see this I think they need some kind of real, tangible, organic experience and also bike back and forth across. I would like to reiterate, again, I am concerned about crossing El Camino. El Camino is a beast where the entire organic metamorphosis or, evolution of the entire area revolves around it. We cannot avoid it. There is no other option but to cross back and forth across it. And I'm sorry, it's so difficult, but it is every bit as important as these people are saying. My last thought is, does parking elimination, does it have to be an either or with getting rid of parking? And then it doesn't, that doesn't seem very workable. Like, is it like no parking on El Camino at all, or all the parking? That's all.
Let me, and I hope we have some of the staff, they actually ride bikes, and I hope they will let them to ride the Camino. I think that's a great practice to test it. I don't trust myself to drive because I'm not like, but we'll do that. But you know what, regarding your second question is very important. As I mentioned earlier, the limitation of the right of way and what we need to accomplish. The value of the bike lane is to be continued. The value of those things is just to be clear and visible to everyone else. And we will work with the city and whoever that if there's another option, we're willing to listen.
Yes, that's a possibility.
We listen. I mean, it's not going to hurt.
Nick, to the first question, as we kind of stated before, lowering the speed or speed management along El Camino Real is we going to be actively pursuing going forward. One thing that we want to highlight is with this project, with this funding opportunity, we can put the infrastructure or the bike facility in place. You know, after if we successful down the road lowering the speed, it will make the facility better and more safer. One concern we have is if we don't take this funding opportunity and the project, it will take us years for us to secure the funding, initiate the project, to put in the facility. So we kind of acknowledge and understand that we won't be able to implement most optimal scope situation for the facility along El Camino with this project, but with the funding constraint, it is very critical that we take advantage of the opportunity that we have now. We will commit, we commit to pursuing, other safety improvement that we discussed as far as the speed management and other items. Thank you.
Thanks. There are some more questions in the public. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 questions from the public. I see Matt, Brian. I see you, Matt. I'm going to get to you in a second. We're going to do one question here because she's been raising her hand for a long time, and then we're going to go to Matt, and then we're going to go to the rest of them. Thank you. I'll try to be quick. I'm Carol Muller, long-time driver and cyclist. And I guess my question to you, I haven't quite heard yet, but I thought I heard you say that one of the tools that you have available to you is driver education. And I didn't see anything in the plan that to me sounded like it addressed driver education. And if I think about all crashes I've heard of and the deaths and the fatalities in this area, it seems to me that that's a huge problem. Moreover, it also seems to me that it has changed a great deal, not only with increased population and development, but with the pandemic. There's something about our national angst that has made people drive way too fast, be way too careless, not only not obey the laws, but be completely unaware of them. And I see these discussions happening right and left. And every time there's a cyclist fatality or serious injury, all of a sudden their fingers pointing at what the cyclist did wrong, which rarely is the case.
You know what, regarding education, I think it's all of us, we need to approach this one. I think we need to do more.
Yes, ways to help people.
And I agree, and I
Slow
think
down.
it has to be, let us know as a region, how can we participate, and I'm sure our staff will jump in.
I would just like to say, if it's, I think it's all of us, I think you're absolutely right, and I think if Caltrans has the opportunity to latch on to that, be a leader. We need leadership in this area. I'm not seeing it from anyone. And all of us
I agree, and I hope we'll be part of that.
So I'd like to see a campaign that's a part of this project, that some money goes into to get people to slow down and learn laws.
Sure.
Yeah, I just want to mention that the city is in the process of putting together a safety action plan, and education is a piece of that. So I am looking forward to putting together those campaigns. Thank you. Yeah, I fully support Repaving. I think planning for 21 years now is what we need to do for the high density housing that's coming, and giving people an option to driving. It has to be part of the transportation system. And senior director's policy of maximizing transit, and just on the transit front. And I know that you mentioned, this is not just all the whole invisible system that includes a lot of cities, Mountain View, Southwest cities, and Warrenville. So I guess the question I have is on the transit side. I think in the last meeting we talked about 12-foot and wider lanes for BTA for bus, but then after the meeting, maybe there was some discussion about BTA for external lanes and being okay with other lanes. Just wanted to make sure that there's ongoing communication with BTA and BTA.
Yeah. Well said. We'll take a note of it, and actually it does. We're trying to see if it, but sometimes just want to be frank. If you want to reduce a lane to 11 feet or 10.5, and it's not going to provide you any value to the bike lane or safety, that's going to be, it's not worth it. So I want to make sure that it has to be integrated with the whole picture too. But we are looking at that one.
Okay, great. Matt, I'm sorry. I thought it was gonna be your turn. It's your turn now. Oh, and hang on a second because we're gonna unmute you in a second.
3, 2.
Hi, thank you. And thank you to the Caltrans workers and everything you've done to help us with this project. My name is Matt Bryant. I live in Palo Alto. I ride my bike and I have been a bike commuter when I went to the office. I've got 2 daughters that have ridden their bikes to Fletcher and Gunn School. I've also ridden with them on their commutes. And I really just wanted to point out that I support the bike lanes on El Camino. I support any bike lanes anywhere we can get them. And from an equity and inclusion standpoint, I see a number of people riding today along El Camino Real. I even see some families riding today on El Camino Real. And I know the question came up earlier, but do we know how many people ride that don't necessarily live in Palo Alto? Maybe they work in Palo Alto. Maybe they're passing through Palo Alto. I just know a number of people don't know or understand alternative bike lanes. So it's so important for us to get a bike lane on El Camino. Secondly, I've got my kids have done soccer at the El Camino soccer fields near the Stanford Mall. They do soccer at the Mayfield soccer fields near Page Mill and I'm sorry, not Page Mill. Yeah, or in Oregon Expressway. Yeah, Page Mill and El Camino. And there's a number of kids that ride there today. Do we know how many kids go there on a regular basis? And to follow up with regards to those 2 parks, as well as the Palo Alto High School, are we going to have signs that point out, slow school zone or slow park zone, reminding people to have lower speeds near those areas? And I'm probably forgetting some as well. And also regarding the comment on the left turns, it is difficult to make a left turn on a bike into the left turn lane, but other cities have what they call launch pad, where you actually pull over to the right. So if I was coming down El Camino, I'd pull over to the right, kind of put myself in the front in a pole position in front of the car traffic, wait for the light, and then go straight across Oregon Expressway, if that makes sense to people. Rather than going all the way to the left, I stay to the right and I stop, kind of pull over right into the crosswalk of the slow lane and then go straight across. So having those green bike boxes so you can make those launch pad left turns from the right are really great. And I wonder if that will be a part of this as well. And so many other comments I agree with. And thank you again. I really support bike lanes on El Camino Real.
Well, thanks, Matt. I think it was a great bunch of questions. I think the last one, I just want to stop on that regarding the, we're gonna make sure that all the school zoning, striping, and all the signage and everything matches what we have today. So the crosswalk's gonna be yellow and all whatever goes with it. So with a new fresh look, and in addition to, I just want to also mention we're doing a lot more than minimum. I think somebody said we're doing a fresher crosswalk. We're doing upgraded APSs. Actually, it's a touchless technology that you could accommodate everybody at all ages and all heights. We're doing a lot of HUGs crossings that activated by the crossing. So we're doing actually within part of that project, we're doing a lot of those safety crossing components. Regarding the counts about, I don't know how many people across play soccer. I don't think that Caltrans, I think we have that number. Neither it's going to help us, to be the design to accommodate. And I think we look at things as one crossing or 200 people. I think we need to provide minimum standard crossing and safety. I don't know anything you want to add today, guys. I don't know if I missed any of those questions. Good.
We can have our team look into additional signage for sure, man.
Okay.
My name is Scott Mace. I was a county bike chair in San Mateo County a few years back. 50 years ago, this year, I was crossing the driveway in Santa Clara and the car hit me. I went on the hood and my bike went under the car.
I'm very lucky back in alive today. I'm really concerned about driveways. Is there a way that this city and Caltrans can launch an initiative to control, eliminate, reduce the number of driveways on this, what's been described as a bike superhighway? I've bicycled in Europe. You go on the Grand Boulevard in Europe, they don't have these driveways. They use alleys. People deliver things to the back. I understand there are no alleys in Palo Alto, but you've got all these projects that are coming up. Maybe as each one is approved, an alley can be put behind the field and the driveway eliminated. That would be my fervent desire to see that added to the bike plan or added to Caltrans plan for this facility. Thank you.
We'll definitely work with the city. This is it's access and zoning will be popular. Next.
So I represent, prior speaker talked about commuters who go through Palo Alto. I ride my bike more than anybody who lives in Palo Alto because I go from one side to the other. I lived in the city, it would certainly be shorter. I'm now a public school teacher. I teach algebra to fourth graders, or excuse me, to 14-year-olds. Sometimes it feels like fourth graders. And I've had 3 students show up with broken bones riding their bike to school this year. Way higher than I would expected. And one also show up in crutches with ligament damage and facial scar. Gonna stay with him for life, probably gonna see arthritis when he's in his 40s or 50s. So, and what I've heard is that no one cyclist says we shouldn't have bike lanes. What they're saying is it's yes and. We need better intersection crossing. We need to plan for the knock-on effects of parking may be moved. We need to have additional signage. We need to be able to educate people where these other routes are. Because of where I live and the lack of cross streets and the way the creeks are configured, I have to ride on it. I've been a daily bike commuter for 14 years, 250 days a year. Before that, I commuted 40, 50, 100 times a year as a fair weather cyclist. But I have no choice, but because of where I live at the intersections in Mountain View, they're large blocks. I have to ride an El Camino for a block or 2 before I can get off. When I finish my route near the end, I have to ride an El Camino for a long block. So I ride the Wilkie Way Bike Boulevard the entire length from the bridge all the way through. I pick up the Park Boulevard, Bike Boulevard all the way. I get back out to the Caltrain station and I end up going back on El Camino for a while. No one with a choice wants to ride on El Camino. It's newcomers, it's people who don't know their way around, it's people who are living in motels temporarily on El Camino. It's inexperienced bikers, sometimes students, until they find those other routes. So it's a yes and. It's not like cyclists are concerned or saying there should be no way there should be bike lanes on El Camino. It's saying I don't ride on them because I have a better way, I know where the networks are, or I live on a block that doesn't require. So my question is, it looks like it's a choice between parking and bike lanes. So either it's removing parking and gaining lane and mobility seems a pretty obvious choice. Is there a choice to take a lane away from El Camino, keep parking and have a bike lane? So it's 2 lanes of cars, 1 lane of bikes and 1 lane of parking? Or is it just parking versus a bike?
You know, I think the communities always have choices. We all have choices. And it just, you need to understand what you're going to give up when you pick something. Taking, I would go with that, taking a lane away. Again, I think indicated earlier on, it's a very complicated corridor because it connects actually the whole Bay Area to the fact from San Jose all the way to San Francisco. It just is not only looking at one city or one town and I remember I was part of the BTA light rail study one before, and I understand the dynamic and what everybody wants. All the options are on the table. If somebody, what we need to do adequate study to explore and identify all the impacts. And if the community willing to live with certain things and the neighboring and the transit, you know, you cannot have it all, but it has a lot of people that should be sitting at the table to discuss the impact and what does it mean to eliminate the lane. And I think Caltrans, we said it all the time, we were willing and committed to work with any community that they propose anything and innovation and whatever it is, we'll sit down and evaluate it and see how this can work. So I hear you. And the other option of give up the bike lane or the parking. Again, it is just, we're looking at all options and we're still looking at all options is can we have both, can have all of them at the same time? It is just sometimes then, you want to crunch everything in one place that defeats the purpose. So I think we're looking at options and everything is worth evaluating.
Thank you. I can't wait, even if I have to ride El Camino, at least it'll have new pavement.
You know what, I think that, I hope we're gonna do that.
Whether I still have to go by parked cars and all the other hazards that involve, I have to do it. I hope I do it, no bike lane next year. But thank you.
It's very impressive, 14 years of riding bikes, very cool. Yes, yeah, go ahead.
Nick, I just want to understand your answer. What you're saying that the Caltrans, as you said in your presentation, that Caltrans will consider a road diet, but for this project, is a road diet, you said, is not on the table. But you're saying in the future, it might be. I just want to understand what you said.
That's exactly because the timing and the scope of this kind of project. Do you want to delay the payment for another 5 years?
No.
Thank you. So that would be a separate effort.
Thank you.
So our choice is parking or bike lane.
Nick, I would like to add that yes, as Nick mentioned, we intend to explore the opportunity to get funding for the future study of road diet along El Camino Real as a whole corridor. But that's the steps that we have to try for future years funding to initiate that study. This project, we got an opportunity on the federal funding for the safety enhancement. So as Nick mentioned, we taken advantage of that capital construction funding availability to add the scope. So this scope is the schedule and the scope is very, we don't have a whole lot of flexibility. Thank you.
We are saying the same thing.
Hi, my name is Zafar Ali. I want to start off by saying that I'm very excited for the class 4 bike lanes on El Camino. One of the top things for me when riding on a high-speed street is those plastic poles and the separation in the cars. The second thing that is the most stressful for me is the mixing zones near the intersection. And I feel like the bike lanes are going to be great for me when I get off the side street and get to my final destination. But to actually go through and speed up my commutes and speed up my errands, it will be really good to have better protection at the intersection. At the moment, what I see are like mixing zones, shadows, little like green paint here and there. In my experience, Middlefield over here, Sand Hill Road, drivers are not very respectful. So I really feel like, if we have the opportunity, we should try to push a little bit more. And, maybe instead of having 2 right turn lanes, we have 1 right turn lane and like the bollards go all the way to the intersection. I feel like we should be a little bit more innovative and try to give more protection at the intersection.
Well, I think, thank you so much for the question. I agree with you. And as indicated, we're going to take a second look at the DIB 94 and we see we can squeeze more real estate out of this, but we need to have open-minded. If there is particular, everything we touch, it has an impact. If we can eliminate the left turn or right turn, that's another 500-page study or more. And we need, which is rightfully so. I mean, we need to do something and show the impacts and where this one. And I think will work. And I will, but again, for just to be clear, this phase we're not proposing to eliminate any lanes, neither right, left, or through, because of the timing and the outside the scope of this project. But as I said, this is the beginning, and it could be phase 2, phase 3, and we'll work with the city, with Caltrans, whatever it takes to. And every time there's a funding opportunity, I think that's a great thing to work with the city to give it. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Alexis, and I'm private director. And I did have one of my kids hit in the intersection. Hit intersections crossing El Camino, where I did a public records request, and the yellow light was only 3.7 seconds. So she entered on yellow, and by the time she wasn't all the way across the intersection,
anyway, so definitely check those things, but I guess the first thing, this is maybe not the right place for this, but how is this decision made that El Camino should be a super highway for bicycles? Like I actually can't think of the less appropriate place to be a super highway for bicycles. I think there is a need on a lot of sections to add some bike lanes for safety, and there's some places that are appropriate, but there are so many curb cuts and the cars are going so fast. And there are so many limitations because of state highway laws and this and that about how we can protect people at the intersections that, I mean, it seems to me if we want to have a highway, it should be mostly on these parallel streets, and there are occasions when you have to go onto the street. I mean, I just worry that this is not going to solve the problems that we've seen here with the accidents. Even the wrong way cycling, often it's just to get back to an intersection that has a signalized crossing, because people don't, like, you have to go, I mean, it's crazy how you have to get back around for most cyclists. Maybe a very, sophisticated cyclist is going to take a left and then do that, but a lot of people are just going to go back on the sidewalk to where the crossing is. So I don't think it's going to solve that. But I mean, how much of this is class 4? How much of this is class 2? I mean, that's a question.
So I'm trying to understand your question.
So my first question is this, like, has a definitive decision been made that we really are going to make this into a bike superhighway from San Jose to San Francisco? Because if not, I mean, I would like to think about if we have this extra room for the cars, could we use it for extra transit priority, for example, in certain sections, right? Because there's places where we have excellent parallel bike boulevards right now, but there are places on El Camino where we don't, because it ends at the boulevard. Right? But I'm saying, like, have we really made that decision, first of all? And secondly, have we considered on certain sections using that space for things like buses?
Well, no, I think I get your question. Thanks. A couple of things I think Jasmine during the PowerPoint presentation, she referenced a few local and regional plans for grant initiative, like regional plan, everything else. So they all lead to an agreement that should be a regional planning to regulate that thing. But what triggered this project, and again, we said it, and maybe I didn't say it today, but I said it last time. We left it to Mountain View and Los Altos. They chose to do it early on, and it actually neighboring. But what triggered that project specifically at this time is the safety report that tells you there is a 40 accident or 33 accident here. And I think the expectation, we need to do something about what expected, what can we improve. It's not going to be perfect, and we all agree, and we're not providing it's the ultimate design because the limitations. But I think it's safety expertise. They will enhance safety. It's not going to guarantee that's not going to have an accident because we need better facility. So I don't know if that's fine.
It's also like, I mean, are there parts if we have this extra real estate, are there other things?
I wish we had. I mean, I think we know exactly what we have in Camino. If there's another option.
Like we talked about bus lane, but if you only want, you're committed to a bike lane from San Jose to San Francisco, then the answer is no. But if it's something where we are trying to make improvements to safety, then they can. I just mentioned that a little bit here. I think DID 94 speaks to this. I don't know if Jasmine or anybody else wants to talk about this, but El Camino, I think, is supposed to be a multimodal space. And I think that there's, according to DID 94, you would have to incorporate transit into whatever design, right?
Well, Jasmine, I will ask you, but I think it's not only DID, it's complete street, and I think we did actually reference everything else. We need actually to account for all mode of transportation at this time: the transit, bicycle, and pedestrian, a train if there's something around, or whatever it is. We need to evaluate and what is the best use and the safest use of those facilities. I feel free to add, Jasmine, or Rick.
Oh yeah, I'll just add a couple of things. Yeah, so just because we're adding bikeways doesn't mean that we also can't add transit improvements. And BTA's study kind of looks at both, and the Grand Boulevard study kind of looks at both. And it might be harder to do bus only lanes, but yeah, there's still a lot of bus improvements that could be done that incorporate the bikeway. But also the Peninsula Bikeway study looked at a whole bunch of different routes, and like alternative routes are very difficult as soon as you go across 3 jurisdictions. It's you can do an alternate route to El Camino, but your route becomes more and more circuitous depending on how far and how long how if you're just in Palo Alto, maybe, but when you start to all go to Redwood City from Palo Alto, the route becomes more and more like kind of windy as you go. So the grid network, the roadway grid network of the peninsula is not what we would do today. It's you really need more north-south roads. So yeah.
Hi, my name is Emil Abraham, and yeah, I just want to be clear that I'm absolutely in support of this project. Thank you very much, folks at Caltrans, for hard work and being proactive about reaching out to Palo Alto and the city people here. I'm sure El Camino has a great future ahead, considering all the users of the road, right, not just cars. And I know this is a paving project, so the scope is quite limited as to what we can do. So we have a very slim window of opportunity to improve this road for the current riders, right? With the fatality and injury stats, we know they're there, right? So we can improve this for them. So we can't let this opportunity slip by to make the ideal or perfect safe clean bikeway. That's decades away, right? So don't let perfect be the enemy of good. Don't let perfection stop progress, right? So my question is this DIV 94 compliant? If not, how long until it is? How far away are we from that?
No, actually, then, well, thanks for, the nice comment about Catherine and staff. But the thing is, the DIB is already actually approved, and again, when we issue a directive or something, it's not dealing with one corner or one street. It deals with the whole state of California and deals with the whole nation, because it has to be compliant with the whole other design criteria. It's good today. It takes more to digest, understand that the difference between what risk, what we do, and where it's applied, and there is level criteria on certain facilities. So we are again evaluated before we implement this. Soon we can, if we can evaluate. I said, not implement, evaluate wherever fits the best. And
I just want to say that I support the project because bicyclists are a mode of transportation and they should have access to all the roads. And the more bicycles we allow on El Camino to make it when it's safer, then more people will be encouraged to bicycle on that road or any road. I also am wondering, and I'm showing my ignorance, but I used to work at Pagefield Square, which is part of the Stanford Research Park. I'm wondering if Research Park is included in this whole plan and project, if they're having input. Because I know that they really promote using alternative transportation to get up and down Pageville.
we try to reach everybody, and I think the city is doing a great job coordinating with all the stakeholders, and we still have an opportunity to join other meetings, but I don't know what they're doing.
Who has not asked a question yet? Yeah.
Hi, my name is Ken Kirshner. I'm an advocate with Silicon Valley Bike Coalition. I'm certainly in favor of this project. I have a couple of questions that maybe your experts can help with. So repaving is going to get rid of the potholes. Potholes are kind of a natural deterrent to driving quickly. And I'm wondering, when the repaving happens, how much the speed can increase because of that. And when the restriping is done, a week after the repaving happens, you're going to go for narrower lanes, and that's going to restrict the speed, hopefully. So my question is, based on Caltrans' extensive experience doing this lots of other places, what's the net effect on the speed? Because the ultimate safety measure here is lowering the speed. And I'd like to see you guys come up with an aggressive partnership with the city of Palo Alto to lower the speeds on this segment. So I've got a second question, but I won't monopolize the microphone here.
I want to just quick think about that. A new pavement doesn't mean like give you a license to break the speed limit. I mean, there's a police and we all have, I think that's not the punishment to have a new pavement. But I like your question, if this is a reduction of the new, it will reduce the speed. I would defer this to Ang and Jasmine or Rick, if we have any study or any information that would support that.
I'm not aware of any study done speed relates to the newer pavement. Maybe we can kind of look into
No,
it.
I think Ken's question is would if reduce the lane width, will reduce let's rephrase the question.
Yeah, so it cuts both ways. Yes, we see speed reduction with the narrower lane, but at the same time it increases the number of sideswipe crashes as well. So I hope that answers your question.
Sorry, I didn't understand it. Did you?
Well, I didn't answer, but I think, do you want to say, do you mind rephrase the question again? I don't want to mess up what you said. I know what you mean, but
Yeah, so what?
Thanks. My question is, what's the net effect of repaving and narrow stripe lanes on the speed?
I could provide generic answers, man.
And that's something that we have to look into. I just want to make sure I got your question right. Your question is, what's the net reduction in speed with the repaving with the narrower, right? So we have to get back to you.
We don't know.
We didn't know. I think we do.
Okay, so Mountain View and Los Altos are gonna go ahead of Palo Alto. So we have a natural experiment.
Ahead in which phase? Which?
You're gonna repave and restripe.
No, the next, no, it's one project is gonna go in the same time.
No, it's literally gonna be done a year ahead.
No, I know we never said this is one project. We're gonna start from the south, going north with the paving, and knowing the construction operation. It's one project, one funding, in one contractor, one contractor doing all this project. It's not separate. We didn't have. The only thing what we do, we delaying the entire thing because of the current Palo Alto sewer line that we cannot do paving now because of the sewer line in Palo Alto. If there's no sewer line, that could it be paved already?
So the basis we reduce for future.
No, we don't want to misunderstand the question. I mean, the question is, again, I don't want to mix up. It's one project. When the contractor gonna pay the operation, I don't know. I do apologize if you get any indication that this is a buffer between Mountain View and Palo Alto. There is none. We're just doing all the upgrades until everything is ready to go, and the contractor will be paving one lane. I don't know exactly how this is gonna do it, but they have the option to pave lane number 1 from Mountain View all the way to Palo Alto. There's nothing could stop them from doing this. And I'm telling you, I'm my previous life, I'm a construction guy. I just want to make sure there's no misunderstanding.
Okay, thanks for clarifying.
Yeah.
Has anyone here not asked questions and wants to ask? Great. Who has a second question?
You're gonna go second.
No. I'm just gonna, I just want to ask you, can you, it's already past, it's 8:30. Can you do these two?
2, 3. What? You know what? We're not more.
I want to hear what Ken Kirchner said.
Yeah, go ahead. That's fine. Yeah.
We'll go Ken and then Art.
Yeah,
Ken,
but yeah, that's
Ken and
okay.
then Art, doesn't even hurt.
Well, okay, I just want to mini public service announcement. The Silicon Valley Bike Coalition, Catherine Dumont, who was here earlier and asked a question, and I have been out canvassing businesses on El Camino and doing our own citizens open source parking study. So if anybody has questions about, where parking removal will have an impact on businesses, I have face-to-face conversations, probably 40 or 50 of them. And I have parking numbers, and I'm happy to share that with everybody here and show the public. It's an open source effort, and I've been taking videos of actual behavior of bikers and scooterers and people. That's not my question. My question is, I understood this to be a phased project where you're starting at Highway 85 and you're working your way north. Like you're not doing, from Menlo Park down to Mountain View on one lane, right? You're going to do it in chunks and segments. So my question is, if there's an opportunity to learn from the segments that are being done in Mountain View, how can those learnings be applied to the project as it moves northward?
Well, I need to be more practical about the monitoring aspect of it, and if it's really what you're trying to accomplish with is monitor the speed with the new pavement and the lane reduction or whatever. I think this is what you said, right?
You're calling it a quick build, right?
I'm not saying quick build, it's a build.
No, your team has called it a quick build, right? So the secret to quick build is iterating and continuing to improve.
Sure. So
I'm asking, how is that process going to work here?
Yeah, I'm not sure there's a process. We're not monitoring the lane width after this, how the speed is gonna go. There's a process to monitor, to do speed survey and other tools. But it's not part of the project. When we finish with one town, we're gonna monitor how fast, and that we're not put this as Caltrans. We didn't do this because we didn't believe it has any value.
Okay, you guys are spending $600 million to widen 101, and we're talking about $30 million for this. Okay, that seems like an inordinately waste of money. Trying to widen the lane to make cars go faster when we could be saving lives and making this safer.
Okay.
Like, I'm just questioning how Caltrans' budget is allocated, because it doesn't seem like it's being spent on the right stuff.
Okay, I'll answer that one. I assume you're referring to 101 widening is the express lane?
Yeah, no, it's not the express lane, it's the widening.
Where?
Express lane is fine. From basically the San Mateo north.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
That project phase is still to be decided. It's $600 million.
Okay. Well, I think it's, I want to tell you where did the money come from for this project. It's a shop intended to preserve the pavement and maintain the safety of the corridor. There's another source of funding to do whatever widening or express lane or any other, we call STEP, which is state transportation improvement program, which does deal with congestion and managing traffic. So I'm not sure exactly. I will be happy to provide you with the literature how Caltrans fund the project. But for the purpose of this meeting, this project is come from the shop. It's called State Highway Operation Protection Program to preserve the pavement, and it is a state. So I just, but maybe I'm missing something here. If there's something, I don't know what we intended to monitor. Honestly, I don't know if this is feasible, but it's worth. Maybe we'll have different conversation. Maybe we could simplify it and could understand it more.
Yeah.
And if there's a value to it, it just yeah. I think it's worth. Maybe I'll hear you out more with more details.
I'd like to bring us back to the issue of driveways. Craig?
You're good.
I'd like to bring us back to the issue of driveways and curb cuts. And I'm wondering, probably know how many there are. But I'm wondering who between you and the city decides on whether a new one gets built, gets put in. Can you reduce them? And the reason I bring this up because we hear on PABAC an increasing issue about the speed of the bicycles because of the growing popularity of e-bikes. People will be using e-bikes more and more in the future. They'll be going faster. They'll give them less opportunity to take advantage or to be aware of a car coming out of a driveway. And so I'm wondering if it's possible between you and the city to reduce the number of?
I have a quick answer for you, and the rest will be the city. I think the state and everybody else, if we own a piece of land, you need to have access to the land. You need to have access to the public road to front the parcel. This is I know from basic rights. The local zoning and the frequency of those opening, it does go to the city zoning, and they could limit the access. But Caltrans, because we are actually the face of that road, I'm not saying this is. We do have guarantee if you have a piece of land, you have to access your land. So you have access, but we're not gonna give you, I don't think you are entitled to get 5 driveways. Maybe you'll have, you will guarantee you an access. And this is the basic of real estate and the right property.
Thank you. I think, two things I want to say. I fully agree with Ken's last comment on budget allocations. And, I wanted the gentleman in green reminded me that I meant to earlier comment on one of the things, which is the need for signage both on El Camino Real and on the Ruby Park Boulevard. So this would be a collaboration between the city and Caltrans to direct less experienced bicyclists off of that very, very busy street to a much quieter, safer place for someone who would be less experienced and particularly kids. And then, I guess that was really, thank you. Thanks.
Right.
Most of what you said, and this was a project to repave, and that was your priority, and that was limited in scope. And all your introduction about safety first and priority for safety for all is kind of a sideline. So I think you should be really upfront. This is a paving project. The second thing is that there's a lot of electronics, cameras, not speed cameras, not real light cameras, but detection cameras. Cameras which can detect bicycles in the bike lane, cameras which can detect, say for example, so there's lights which go off at some crossing, pedestrian crossing line, signs saying up to cars saying, careful with your right turn or something like that. Electronics detect bicycles in the bike lane, warn cars in the driveways, warn cars that might make the right turn, that there are bicycles there. I don't know how expensive they are, but they're all going up all over the place for pedestrians. They should go up for bicycles, and if safety is really a concern of yours, I believe things like that make a big help. Even sirens going off, which you have in some driveways, garages, which can say in San Francisco or San Jose, car comes out of the garage, bells go off, whistles, maybe not the completely deaf, but anybody with hearing aids can hear it and say, uh-oh, I better be careful. So there's even old-fashioned things which can enhance safety, and you haven't mentioned anything like that.
Well, I was hoping that it is, we've been talking about safety all night long. We've been talking about this, but we can't try to do it. I apologize if the message they through. The reason why we need to hear for safety, it's not for the reason because we can improve that. It's a great practice that while you're there, with what we said, initially the project was a paving project. It's great, that's true. That was 5 years ago. The initial, but today there is new thing that we need to explore, and I think that's why we're meeting, and that's why we spend all the resources to come up with the most safe and feasible approach to take care of safety. So I do, and there is a room to group. I admit if you wanna install alarms in every driveways, be it. If you wanna, it could be phase 2 or 3. But the project limitation, funding and time, it's not gonna allow us to go to that level.
Thank you. We really need to end this meeting.
No, without, you know what?
Is a question? Okay, ask a question.
I saw 2 dates for this project. One was 2024 and one was 2025 up on your slides. So I'm just curious, what is the timeline for this project? When do you expect it to be complete?
Can you go back to that? I want to see the dates, but the project today is an active construction zone as we speak, and you could see a lot of trucks back and forth. And the contractor has, I think, 200 or 300 working days to finish the project. So give and take the weather and when we can complete the work, they will give. But I like to see the dates, and I will clarify. We should have one date. And that date may be wrong, but we have one date.
Okay, so here in the top right, it says.
That's not the project schedule.
2024.
That's not project schedule.
Which one then?
That's not project schedule. Go to the second slide, third slide.
Third slide.
Yeah, this is actually the study that you're referring to.
Okay.
That's here. This is the schedule in construction and completion date. I'm not sure, but this is the only one schedule, all of 2025.
So that maybe schedule. According to I
Okay, it's gonna be implemented in the project. That's no schedule. That's gonna be part of this project.
Yeah, but the overall project, you think next.
Okay, the bikeway will be part of this project. The date you're looking at, maybe the one, it just when we start talking about the bike lane and the safety and what we're talking about right now.
Okay, so you're saying it's 25.
This is the date if weather and law constraint. So this is, we say tentative because, you know, God knows what the future is. This is the complete of the project. This is the completion, paving, bike lane, electrical, striping, and that's gonna look like the picture I showed earlier. That's the way that we leave it, that date represent that picture. Throughout the whole corridor, it's not Palo Alto, it's not through the whole thing.
So page 9 at the bottom. It's potential 2024.
But then
You know what, I don't know what the schedule is, but take my word. I don't know what is that, it just maybe when we started and that's a bigger picture. The planning. This team, I think, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks,
Anything,
everybody.
you good? Well, thank you so much, guys. Great, appreciate it. You know what? Thanks for having us.
Thank you to the Caltrans staff here and online for all your great answers. Appreciate you spending your evening with us. Thanks to the committee members and the public still here. Have a good night.
Good night.
Great job. Thank you so much.